The Middle East is a land of unrestricted possibilities. But things here can swing both ways, from really good to horribly bad. Those who've had it good will never leave the Middle East, and those who've had it horrendously bad can never leave until they are stripped off of their last penny, humiliated to their last bit of resource, and only then kicked out of the region. Now, it is China which has landed itself from the good place to the terrible one in a matter of just months. For a long time, China played neutral in the Middle East, and that helped it do a lot of business with the Arabs, the Iranians, and the Israelis. It's what kept them in good humor. But now, China has fallen out of favor with both Israel and the Arabs. Things are changing thanks to Xi Jinping's own overconfidence and high-handedness. What the CCP could soon be left with now is a huge kick in the posterior and no returns on investment from the Middle East. Hi, and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Shubhangi, and in this video, I will tell you about China's terrible folly in the Middle East and how the Abraham Accord partners are the first ones to show it the door. Let's begin. The Abraham Accord partners have many things in common. They share similar adversaries and kindred allies around the globe. China is one of them, but only in the capacity of the grave security threat that it poses to the countries like Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. These countries have finally realized that China is no friend and it needs to be cornered in order to prevent China from realizing its hostile West Asia takeover plan. Saudi Arabia has not yet signed the Abraham Accord, but it has backed them. Now it seems to lead the crusade against China. Recently, the Gulf country inflicted a $10 billion dent on China's Belt and Road Initiative in Pakistan. As reported by Nikkei Asia, Saudi Arabia has decided to shift a proposed $10 billion oil refinery to Karachi from Gwadar, the center stage of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Pakistan and an excited China invited the Arabs to join the CPEC in the year 2018, following which Saudi Arabia declared to pour in $10 billion in the refinery project. The announcement was considered to be Saudi's endorsement of China's Belt and Road Initiative. However, the recent move by Mohammed bin Salman deals a massive blow to Jinping's ambitions to develop Gwadar as a mega investment hub in the Arabian Sea. China's proximity to Saudi's staunch adversaries, Iran and Turkey, has made the Arabs jittery, resulting in a radical shift in Saudi Arabia's attitude towards China. China is Saudi Arabia's largest trade partner, consuming about 20% of the latter's total exports. However, given the existential threat that a China-Iran alliance poses to Arab nations, Saudi is looking to make China irrelevant in the region. Saudi Arabia has already refused to recognize vaccination certificates of China-made vaccines, even though both Sinopharm and Sinovac are registered with the World Health Organization. Then we come to Israel. As TFI has reported earlier, Israel has also borne the brunt of China's bonhomie during recent Gaza-Israel clashes, making Israel realize that Jinping's only agenda is to undermine the interests of the Jewish state. After China openly peddled the Iranian and Palestinian line during the Israel-Hamas war, Israel is now worried about Xi Jinping's increasingly hostile ambitions in Syria. Syria is one of many thorny issues between Israel and China, where China openly supports and endorses the Assad government, while Israel has some genuine reservations. And the problem begins with the Golan Heights, a disputed area between Syria and Israel. As per Israeli sources, there are signs that China may be moving to take advantage of the USA's withdrawal from Syria as part of a larger effort to expand its footprint in the Gulf and the Middle East. The other source said, "It is obvious that the main target is to have military foothold in Syria. The US is aware of the Chinese plan, but so far has not done anything to stop it." It is now more than clear that Israel is going to hinder China's truculent Middle East plan, starting off in Syria. Of late, Israel also lashed out at Chinese state TV broadcaster CCTV after it was accused of airing anti-Semitic propaganda during the Gaza war. But it is China, after all, a country that has traditionally supported the Palestinian cause. During the latest round of clashes between Israel and Gaza, the Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned the US for blocking a UN Security Council statement against Israel. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying said, "What we can feel is that the US keeps saying that it cares about the human rights of Muslims, but it was ignoring the suffering of the Palestinian people." Anyhow, Israel's realization of China's true character is quite significant, and it can really harm Beijing's interests in the region. Most importantly, business relations between Israel and China might be jeopardized now. To conclude, China's relations with Israel started to go downhill only the moment China began to get very cozy with Iran and started peddling Palestinian propaganda. The UAE also does have an axe to grind with China, as China has vaccine trapped it and other Arab countries like Bahrain, along with a slew of developing countries. Trusting China, the UAE inoculated large swathes of their population with the Chinese vaccine. Yet there are no signs of herd immunity kicking in. In an act of astute brazenness, China then offered exorbitantly priced booster shots of the China-made Sinopharm vaccine to the UAE to make the vaccine more effective. This was really testing the patience of the Arabs. The ineffectiveness of the Chinese vaccines and China's blackmail tactics with its booster shots have greatly enraged the Emiratis, whose crucial tourism sector remains shut down due to COVID-19. The UAE is also mulling to remove Huawei technologies from its telecommunications network and distance itself from China. China's blatant support to Iran, Palestine, and its disastrous vaccine diplomacy with UAE and Bahrain has rubbed the Abraham Accord countries the wrong way. China is all set to suffer major geopolitical setbacks at the hands of Israel and its allies. China's fierce clash with Arab countries and Israel means complete erosion of China's influence over the Middle East region, and that is soon going to be a reality.